Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're taking on a truly massive task. We're going to decode Earth's entire 4.6 billion year biological and geological history, and we're transforming it into a highly scannable, exam-ready blueprint. We're talking deep time, mass extinctions, and the absolute must-know milestones for your advanced biology and geology curricula. Our goal here is simple: to build a rock-solid foundation of understanding that you can take straight into your Cambridge and board exams.
Here's our agenda for today. We're going to start with how we date the Earth, then map out the geologic calendar, and sequentially tackle the Precambrian, the Cambrian explosion, and the Mesozoic and Cenozoic eras. And finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with a quick 10-second exam summary.
Section 1. How we date the Earth. Unlocking deep time through relative and absolute methods.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Before we can read the history of life, we absolutely must understand the tools scientists use to read the rocks themselves. The entire field of geology, and by extension deep time biology, really rests on this one simple, powerful concept from the 18th century geologist James Hutton. The present is the key to the past. We call this the principle of uniformitarianism. It basically means that the geologic processes happening right now, things like erosion, sedimentary deposition, volcanic eruptions, they worked exactly the same way millions or even billions of years ago. By understanding today's processes, we can accurately reconstruct these ancient environments. It's like a giant puzzle.
Which brings us directly to a fundamental rule, the law of superposition. This states that in undeformed stratigraphic sequences, the oldest strata, or rock layers, lie at the bottom, and newer materials just stack right on top. To make this stick in your head, think about the classic laundry pile analogy. When you toss your clothes into a pile in the corner of your room throughout the week, the oldest clothes, the ones you wore on Monday, are naturally going to be found at the very bottom. The ones you just took off today are right on top. Well, sedimentary rock layers and the fossils trapped inside them work the exact same way.
Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is the core difference between the two main categories of dating. We have relative dating, which includes that law of superposition we just talked about, along with biostratigraphy. Now, relative dating only gives us a sequential order. It tells us what happened first, second, or third, but not an exact year. On the flip side, we have absolute dating. This gives us a specific numerical age. We get this by using radiometric techniques, like radiocarbon dating for more recent organic material, or potassium-argon dating for incredibly ancient volcanic rocks.
But wait, listen up, because this is a massive exam trap that you need to watch out for. Do not trust amino acid racemization in open systems. So amino acid dating relies on steady structural changes, the racemization, of amino acids after an organism does. But in porous materials like bone, this method is highly unreliable due to environmental leaching. The surrounding moisture and temperature fluctuations heavily alter the results. Examiners absolutely love testing this. Just remember that only tightly closed systems like thick ostrich eggshells yield somewhat reliable amino acid dates.
Section 2. The geologic calendar. 4.6 billion years compressed into a single 365-day year.
So we're taking the vast, almost unimaginable span of 4.6 billion years and compressing it down into a single calendar year to make deep time a bit more comprehensible. Follow along with me here. Imagine January 1st, exactly at midnight, the molten Earth first forms. It actually takes all the way until February 25th for the very first single-celled life, prokaryotes, to appear. Let's move forward and see how this builds. The dinosaurs? They don't even step onto the scene until December 13th, and anatomically modern humans, we literally arrive at 11:48 p.m. on December 31st. All of recorded human civilization, everything we know as history, happens in just the final 82 seconds before the ball drops on New Year's Eve. Crazy, right?
Section 3. Precambrian. The early Earth. The Hadean, Archean, and Proterozoic eons.
This first massive block of Earth's history spans from its completely hostile birth to the dawn of complex life. Let's rapid fire through these high-yield eras, because the Precambrian accounts for a staggering 88% of Earth's total history. First, the Hadean eon at 4.54 billion years ago. The Earth is completely molten. Atmospheric pressure is crushing with heavy CO2, and it's suffering the violent late heavy bombardment from space debris. Next up, the Archean eon at 4.0 billion years ago. The crust finally cools, oceans form, and though there's still no oxygen yet, we see the first life. Cyanobacteria begin forming these microbial mats called stromatolites in shallow waters. Finally, the Proterozoic eon at 2.5 billion years ago. Now this is incredibly important for your biology syllabus. This is when complex multicellular life and endosymbiosis occur. This is that monumental evolutionary step where a host cell engulfs a bacterium, giving rise to the energy-producing mitochondria and chloroplasts found in almost all modern eukaryotes.
Section 4. The Cambrian explosion. The sudden radiation of complex metazoan life.
Okay. If you remember only one major biological milestone from the fossil record, it absolutely must be the sudden radiation of complex metazoan life. Put a giant mental star next to this number, 538.8 million years ago. For Cambridge and board exams, this exact date is a must-know. It marks the boundary of the Cambrian period. Within a geologically brief window, practically all major animal phyla just suddenly start appearing in the fossil record.
So, the crucial point is, this wasn't magic. It was a biological process sequence driven by a convergence of major environmental factors. Why the sudden explosion of diverse life? Well, first, a critical increase in global oxygen levels allowed organisms to support much larger, more complex body sizes. Second, the formation of the ozone layer finally protected these new organisms from deadly solar UV radiation. Third, the onset of fierce ecological arms races between newly evolved predators and prey forced rapid evolutionary adaptations. Think hard mineralized shells and advanced sensory organs, like eyes. And finally, animals began expanding off the seafloor and dynamically establishing themselves directly in the water column, exploiting entirely new ecological niches.
Section 5. Mesozoic and Cenozoic eras. The shift from the age of reptiles to the age of mammals.
This next phase of deep time shapes the continents and flora we actually recognize today, and you'll see how mass extinctions act as dramatic bookends to these geological eras. The Mesozoic kicks off 252 million years ago, immediately following the Permian-Triassic extinction. That's also known as the Great Dying, where over 90% of marine species just vanished. Life eventually recovers, and reptiles rule the Earth for millions of years until exactly 66 million years ago. That is the KPG extinction, driven by the massive Chicxulub asteroid impact. It literally wipes out the non-avian dinosaurs and resets the ecological board. This directly gives way to the Cenozoic era, leading up to 2.58 million years ago, the start of the Quaternary period, which is defined by its rhythmic cycle of ice ages.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark biological contrasts between the two eras. The Mesozoic is the undeniable age of reptiles and dinosaurs. The plant life is heavily dominated by gymnosperms, like those tough conifer trees, and the era begins with all land masses locked together into the supercontinent Pangaea. Then we shift to the Cenozoic, our current era. This is the age of mammals. The dominant plant life dynamically shifts over to angiosperms, the flowering plants, and the continents finally drift apart into their isolated modern positions.
Section 6. High-yield exam summary. The 10-second summary for your exams.
All right, we've covered billions of years, and now here is your 10-second summary designed for rapid pre-exam revision. Take a mental picture of this. 1. Superposition gives you relative age, while radiometric techniques like potassium-argon give you absolute age. 2. The Precambrian accounts for 88% of Earth's history, always associated with cyanobacteria, stromatolites, and the endosymbiosis of mitochondria. 3. The Cambrian explosion is pinned at exactly 538.8 million years ago, marking the sudden appearance of major animal phyla. 4. The Mesozoic is defined by gymnosperms and Archosaurus and is violently ended by the KPG asteroid. And 5. The Cenozoic is our modern era, absolutely dominated by flowering angiosperms and mammals. Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative question to end our explainer today. As the Quaternary period continues to drive forward, what permanent footprint will the human epoch leave in the geological strata of tomorrow? Looking back at that geologic calendar, we have only existed for a matter of seconds. So, what will our specific layer of rock look like to the geologists of the deep future? Thank you so much for joining me to decode this timeline. Keep reviewing this material, study hard for those exams, and as always, stay curious.